Right now at 5, months on the run come to an end in Indiana for a Virginia mother. How police found her and her 4 children.
I was frantic. I knew she was in danger. I was absolutely sick to my stomach.
Scary moments at a popular play place for kids. One mother's warning to parents.
This is RTV6 News at 5, working for you.
Now at 5, we see it on the radar, and we see it coming down across central Indiana. A mix of rain, sleet, and snow that could be heavy, depending on where you live.
Both INDOT and the Department of Public Works have a full call-out of crews out right now to treat the roads and help keep you safe.
60 trucks in the metro area for INDOT and 80 for DPW, and they'll stay on the job into tomorrow as the winter weather advisory continues.
Our team of meteorologists is tracking this tricky forecast for you tonight.
We start with Chief Meteorologist Kevin Gregory. Kevin.
And the good news so far, no scraping. Was just out in the RTV6 parking lot, just wet vehicles. Temperatures are working in our favor. We're steady now for the second straight hour at 34 degrees. That is melting then this initial wave of moisture, and will cut down on our overall snow totals, which Kyle will break down here in a second. 35 in Peru. So from north to south, temperatures still above the freezing mark. I put this in motion, take us to the present time, and you'll see as the moisture lifts to the north, these temperatures fall just a little bit, but staying above freezing. One exception there right at the freezing mark in Lafayette. The advisory is unchanged since our last conversation last night. Terre Haute to Indy and Richmond north. There's the radar, northern half of the state with the snow. Then as you come to Indianapolis, wintry mix, and it's rain to the south. It's this transition zone where we may see some of the change in visibility. But just to show you where the heavier snow is, half-mile visibility in Lafayette and in Muncie. Kyle?
And Kevin, with TrueCast, he's got a pretty good handle on things this afternoon. We're going to take you through the forecast here, and you can see that very sharp division between where we've got some snow and where we've got a cold rain here in parts of central Indiana. Now, we are expecting that rain-snow line to continue to lift a little more to the north as we go through the evening. And in fact, by midnight tonight, we may dry things out near and south of Indianapolis. More of those snow showers, but fairly light as we go around the Kokomo, Lafayette, and Delphi areas. Then as we get to the overnight hours, about 3 o'clock in the morning, we start to see those snow showers filling back in. And this is where we'll see most of the accumulation, I think, for the Indianapolis areas and the southern half of central Indiana. Still some of those snow showers through tomorrow morning. So we're looking at about 2 to 4 inches of snow from around Crawfordsville toward the Muncie area and areas to the north. A very narrow band. We're going to see a drop in those snow totals of about 1 to 2 inches and less than an inch as we work our way south of Interstate 70. Kevin has much more on the cold air to follow in a few minutes.
Well, months of searching for a mother of 4 from Virginia came to an end today in central Indiana. Overnight investigators arrested that woman in Hendricks County and located her children. RTV6's Troy Washington is working for you to explain how U.S. Marshals caught up with Melody Bannister after all of this time.
A Virginia mother on the run for at least 6 months finally caught at this Plainfield gas station. She's been a fugitive since disappearing with her 4 children she no longer has custody of. Her attorney talking to RTV6 moments ago.
Melody Bannister began to live as a fugitive, as an American outlaw, trying to protect her children from a human trafficking ring.
Spotted in 3 different states before being captured and placed here in jail, she's declined our request for an interview about her motivation to stay on the run. Surveillance likely caught how everything went down here, but Speedway clerks wouldn't show RTV6 how it all played out from the store's view. As Bannister waits to be taken back to Virginia, people in this town can't quite wrap their heads around it all.
For anybody to do something like that is bizarre.
But her attorney gets it. He says the mother of 4 was left with no choice.
I think she did what any rational mother would do, and that's try to protect her children at all costs.
Working for you in Hendricks County, Troy Washington, RTV6.
And tonight at 6, Bannister's attorney explains why he says she was acting rationally and why he hopes the children are not returned to their father. We reached out to the father, and at this time, we have not heard back from him. Right now, a silver alert is out for a missing 37-year-old mother and her young son, last seen Monday morning in Greenfield. Cumberland police are looking for 37-year-old Mary Borowski and her 3-year-old son, Aaron. Police believe they are together and that she is driving a dark blue 2003 GMC Yukon with Indiana license plate FI7106. They are believed to be in extreme danger and could require require medical attention. Call 911 if you see them.
Tonight, Metro Police homicide detectives are still manning the phones, asking you to call in tips about 2 recent murder cases. It's a 48-hour effort to generate information about the murder of a Subway restaurant employee on January 27th and last week's murders of 4 young adults at Carriage House East Apartments. You are asked to call the homicide office at 317-327-3475 or Crime Stoppers at 317-262-TIPS. A Tri-West High School teacher and coach charged with child seduction will keep his job for now. Dozens of people showed up to last night's board meeting in Hendricks County. Many expressed concerns that Tyler Bruce has not been fired. Call 6 Investigates raised questions last summer about an alleged inappropriate relationship between Bruce and a student. Bruce is now charged with child seduction. He was on paid leave for months and is now on unpaid suspension. But many feel the board had enough information to terminate him months ago.
You have failed this victim, and there is no excuse. I have 4 daughters. I am furious.
What they don't understand is that there is a legal process that we must adhere to. And that prevents us, 1, from saying a lot of the things that we might like to, and 2, moving any faster through this process.
Members of the community are asking the board to step down. However, that is not happening. Tyler Bruce denies the allegations and is fighting the board's effort to terminate him. He has requested a meeting with the superintendent.
A local mother is looking for answers tonight after she says employee negligence could have caused serious injuries to her daughter at a popular children's play place.
RTV6's Megan Sanctorum is working for you to find out what happened and how the company is responding.
What started as a fun night at the Jump and Play in Noblesville ended with what one mom calls a terrifying situation.
I was frantic. I was absolutely sick to my stomach.
Mindy Black says she was there with her kids on Saturday night, and they stayed right until closing time. She said as soon as an employee began deflating the bounce areas, she realized her 3-year-old daughter was missing.
I did hear her screaming and crying and yelling, "Mommy."
She says her daughter was trapped under the vinyl of a deflating bounce area. Her head and arm were pinned down. Thankfully, they were able to get her daughter out before she was injured. But this mother says she's haunted by what could have happened.
I was sick. I was sick to my stomach. For a minute there, I thought, my God, like what if I hadn't got to her in time?
Black says she's brought her kids here before and she's never had any issues until now. She says calls and messages to the owner have gone unreturned. Now she just wants to make sure policies are in place so this doesn't happen to anyone else.
My child was lucky. The next one may not be so lucky.
Working for you, Megan Sanctorum, RTV6.
A manager at the Jump and Play today declined to comment. He told us his attorney would reach out to us. We've yet to hear back, but RTV6 will continue to follow this issue.
Tomorrow marks 3 years since Delphi daughters Abby Williams and Libby German went missing. Their bodies were found the next day. To this day, the search for their killer continues. To honor the girls' memories, their families are inviting the Delphi community to donate non-perishable food or pet items to the Remembering Abby and Libby food drive. Donations will be accepted tomorrow from 5 to 7 p.m. at Delphi United Methodist Church.
It's a big project that could pay a pretty penny, and that's why so many are eyeing it. Still ahead on RTV6, an Indianapolis landmark at the corner of Washington and Meridian Streets downtown needs some tender, loving care.
Time to start thinking about what works and what doesn't when it comes to Indigo's rapid transit lines. The next phase is the Purple Line. We'll lay out the route and how you can help Indigo map out what's next.
And lots of color on the TrueCast radar this evening. We'll talk about falling wintry mix and then falling temperatures for tomorrow coming up.
Easy Boy Furniture Galleries. Live life comfortably.
Now to Democracy 2020 and the race for president. It's now on to new political battlefields for the Democrats after the New Hampshire primary that saw Senator Bernie Sanders, former South Bend Mayor Pete Buttigieg, and Senator Amy Klobuchar finish 1, 2, and 3. ABC's Mona Kassar-Abdi is in New Hampshire.
The Democratic pack of presidential hopefuls moving on.
I think we're going to do just fine in Nevada, very well in South Carolina, and I think we got a real shot on Super Tuesday to win a whole lot of states.
Senator Bernie Sanders hoping his first-place finish in New Hampshire propels him to more victories. But Pete Buttigieg, close behind in second place, continuing his line of attacks against the frontrunner's self-declared socialist platform.
He's got an approach that says you're either for a revolution or you got to be for the status quo.
Senator Amy Klobuchar celebrating her surge, moving into the top tier with a strong third-place finish and seeing a windfall in donations.
We have beaten the odds every step of the way.
Former Vice President Joe Biden, despite a fifth-place finish, insisting
the fight to end Donald Trump's presidency is just beginning. Just beginning.
And despite a fourth-place finish, Senator Elizabeth Warren vowing to fight on, hoping the lack of a clear frontrunner will give her more time to build support.
We might be headed for another one of those long primary fights that last for months.
And more fallout from the New Hampshire primary. Former Massachusetts Governor Deval Patrick calling it quits today. Businessman Andrew Yang and Senator Michael Bennet dropped out of the race after the polls closed yesterday. Mona Kosar-Abdi, ABC News, Manchester, New Hampshire.
Plans are becoming clearer for the upcoming closing of the Indianapolis Public Library's Fountain Square branch. The library's closing was announced back in 2015 as part of a plan to relocate services to the new West Perry branch, which will open in mid-2021. At Tuesday's meeting, the library's facilities committee preliminarily approved the Fountain Square branch to close May 8th. Moving before its lease expires on Virginia Avenue will save the library more than $60,000. The nonprofit organization Indy Reads will then move into the space in August. The closing date still needs to be approved by the full library board. That meeting will be held on February 24th. Indigo wants to give you an opportunity to learn about the next phase of rapid transit bus service in Indianapolis with an open house tomorrow. We already have the Red Line, which began in September. The next planned route is the Purple Line. The 15.2-mile Purple Line will connect Indianapolis and the city of Lawrence, going from the downtown Indianapolis Transit Center to Fort Bend. Work is set to begin early next year with the line open for service in 2023. Indigo will host an open house tomorrow to share details and answer questions about the plan. You are invited to drop in between 5:30 and 7:30 at Cafe Indy. That is at 8902 East 38th Street.
The clock is now ticking on the timeline to make repairs to the landmark Ayers Clock downtown. Today, potential vendors were lifted above the corner of Washington and Meridian Streets to get a good view of the clock and assess the repair job that needs to be done. The 10,000-pound clock has been there since 1936. It went through a first round of repairs in 2016. Now it needs round 2 to ensure it keeps time for years to come. There are leaks that need to be addressed, and issues related to the bronze case will be remedied. The clock will be temporarily removed for repairs. It's hoped it will be back in time for the holidays, since it serves as the perch for the cherub that appears every Thanksgiving Eve.
I didn't know it was that heavy.
10,000 pounds.
Isn't that crazy?
I'm never going to stand under it.
No. That'll do you under. That'll be it.
Yeah, especially if the cherub's on top of it, adding even more weight. Okay, let's go for a drive. How about that? And we're at a stop, which is pretty typical this hour of the evening. If you're heading up Meridian Street, we're in northern Marion County. Jake Weller behind the wheel. We've got our live drive out this evening. Windshield wipers necessary. Again, there's no ice forming. Road temperatures, I was just checking, at 465 and 865, for example, on the northwest side. Road temperature 34 degrees. Air temperatures as well above freezing. Couple areas where there's an exception at the freezing mark, Logansport and Kokomo. And again, these are the areas that have the best chance of maybe a 2 to 4 inch snowfall total by tomorrow morning. Temperatures in Bedford and Columbus 35 down to 34, but above the freezing in Bloomington. That's kind of the key here. As Kyle mentioned at the top of the show, the most likely time for the accumulating snow will be while we're sleeping. This will have a bigger impact on the morning drive, especially from Indy north tomorrow morning, as the snowfall may see 2 to 4 inches. Then as you come down along Interstate 70 just north of Terre Haute to the metro area of Indy toward Richmond, 1 to 2. There can be some isolated exceptions in that, of course. And then south, you're looking at a rain event. As we look at the radar now, you begin to see, and just follow this little line here. This is where we've got the rain and then snow to the north of that. And the general trend will be for this to continue to make its push to the north. Now, assuming that all goes as planned, that will keep our snowfall predictions in line. There's the latest forecast model that we use, and you can see what's just happened to that line that's around Interstate 70. Now it lifts to the north. Then tonight, Crawfordsville to Muncie getting some rain by the time we get together at 10. Then we start to turn things the other way. Overnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, the cold air started to come into western Indiana. It changes everything to snow. This will have the best chance then of accumulating a bit first thing in the morning. So timing isn't great, but it's not going to surprise us, right? Because we're talking about it now. At the bus stop in the morning, 31 degrees, snow likely. It will not get warmer tomorrow. It will only get colder. Temperatures will fall through the day. The wind will be strong, gusting at times over 20 miles per hour. 25 degrees will really feel more like the single digits as we get late in the day. Those wind chills will continue to fall. There's the progression of temperatures, and you see the stair step down to some Arctic air. The wind chill values as we go through the day all end up in the single digits as we get late afternoon into the evening hours tomorrow. We don't hit rock bottom in the temperature world until we get to Friday morning. That's when temperatures will be coldest, but also Friday, Valentine's Day, we'll begin to see some sunshine. Let's look forward to that. Now, don't think that it'll warm us up, because with sunshine, temperatures will still only be in the teens. That cold air is significant, but it's temporary. Already by the weekend, we turn it the other way. 38 Saturday, 43 Sunday. Temperatures as warm as 50. Real close to it on Monday as well, but Tuesday right now, 50 degrees, the warmest in the forecast. Warm enough early next week that we're talking about rain chances once again. Right now, it's a wintry mix, and will continue for the next several hours.
Be careful out there.
Yes.
Thank you, Kevin. Well, how many times have you said, I wish I would have thought of that? Well, two young girls are way ahead of you. The trip to the beach that inspired a winning idea.
Hello to you. I'm Julie Grant with Court TV, and we are continuing our coverage of two big trials for you. We're in Tampa, Florida, where former ice cream man Michael Keaton is on trial, being accused of murder and attempted murder. Prosecutors say that Keaton went on a revenge-filled shooting spree after he was shot in an armed robbery of his ice cream truck. Today, prosecutors called another one of the shooting survivors. Ramon Galan was injured in the Thanksgiving Day shooting back in 2010. But he says that he was unable to see the face of the person who opened fire.
And did you guys, in fact, leave the gathering at 604 Ocean Mist?
We were trying to,
Right.
but we didn't.
What happened that caused you not to leave 604 Ocean Mist and go back to your cousin Rosemary's?
I was standing there, and then I just heard somebody to lay down, show us your ID, or give me your IDs and lay down. And I turned around, and all I seen was somebody running up beside the car. And I couldn't see him or nothing. All I could see was, like, you know, somebody running towards us. Not really running, but coming.
And we are also in New York City for Harvey Weinstein's rape trial. Court is dark today for President Lincoln's birthday, but tomorrow the defense will give their closing argument. Friday will be the prosecution's turn to close, and then the jury is expected to receive the case and begin deliberations on Tuesday. If convicted, Weinstein could face life in prison. Stay with Court TV for gavel-to-gavel coverage of these cases and all of America's most compelling criminal trials. I'm Julie Grant. Now back to you in the studio.
You can learn more about other cases around the nation right now at courttv.com. There's an old saying that goes, necessity is the mother of invention.
Yeah, well, two creative first graders from Chicago learned the truth in those words and will now be in a national spotlight. The two won an invention contest at their school with a design for a portable sink. Kaylee McGuire said there was one time that she was at the beach and wanted to eat some potato chips, but ran into a problem.
I had just finished playing in the sand, but there was like nowhere to wash my hands nearby. So like I thought, like, what if I had a sink that I could carry with me, then I could wash my hands and eat the snack.
Well, that was the inspiration for the Kids Fun portable sink. Kaylee and a classmate who were 7 at the time came up with 3 prototypes and documented their extensive research in a binder. Finally, they designed a portable collapsible sink that can be attached to a water bottle. Their invention won first place at their school competition and then regional and national competitions. Now America will learn about the sink when Kaylee appears on Strahan, Sarah, and Kiki right here on RTV6 Friday at 1 o'clock. Look at that.
I think the Sharks need to call them up.
I think so too. That's amazing.
Very cool. Well, by the way, Kaylee is now 8 and in the 2nd grade and is already working on ideas for a special kind of robot.
Tonight at 6 o'clock here, childcare can be too expensive and hard to find for working families. We'll show you why a local family felt like hiring a nanny was the best option for them and why there's such a high demand for nannies right now.
Firefighters are now moved into a new firehouse in Greenwood. Why the location here is key to keeping local students and staff members safe.